I'm about to start saying something interesting if you'll let me get it out of my. Hi,
Well, there
everybody.
you go. Jesus.
Hey, we were just
Hi,
having an
folks.
we were just having a civil, loving discussion off the air.
Uh-huh.
Very, very friendly, very, very calm.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
No insults or epithets of any
not at
nature.
all. Just the completely adult conversation of two people who hold each other in highest regard and just the deepest love and respect. And yeah, hi Dana, how are you?
Huh? Oh yeah. Hi, Steve. I wasn't listening.
So anyway, glad everybody could make it as we begin our farewell to Firefly tonight
Dun dun dun.
by watching the first half of the Firefly feature film Serenity, confusingly also the title of the pilot episode of Firefly, but I
But we're
guess
not watching the pilot episode. We already did.
yeah, we already, because God forbid they call the thing Firefly the movie. And you wonder why nobody the hell went to see it. Gee, I wonder why it wasn't a box office smash and we didn't make a whole bunch more. I don't know, maybe because you didn't name it after the show it was a movie of. Anyway,
Well, but I mean, there are a lot of movies that aren't based on shows that manage to be successful.
that's true.
I'm just saying.
That's true. You do make an excellent point. So we're gonna get started there
Eventually.
in a few
Okay,
minutes.
so I want to talk to Sarah. Hush,
Please,
you.
please.
So, Sarah, I will say that despite the fact that I live in an incredibly conservative, beyond blood red and into like brick and I don't know, crimson, deep red area. And it's very rural. And I on my social media feeds, I've seen people, talking about, checking themselves with magnets. But it's been pretty clearly sarcastic.
Yeah.
They're mocking the idea of, microchips and I've been waiting for my cell phone to upgrade now that I've got the vaccine, and it hasn't happened. I'm still on the regular network. What the heck?
Where's your 5G? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, darn it, Bezos, and
Yeah, Chris Pagliani mentioned there's a viral video going around I saw it on Twitter today of a woman. I guess it was like at a congressional hearing or a state legislature hearing or something, where she was trying to claim that the vaccine had made her magnetic, and she was trying to get her car keys, and car keys aren't even magnetic. But anyway, she was trying to get her car keys to stick to her neck, and they didn't. I guess the adhesive that she had sprayed on there beforehand to do the magic trick had sweated off, and it didn't work. Her little scam didn't work. But yeah.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I mean, yeah, it sucks. It sucks especially because the ones who can't get it now are kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a community theater production of A Little Princess, and we haven't had rehearsal. Well, the rest of rehearsals this week were canceled because cast members, one of the students in the play, her younger brother came down positive. So we're all, yeah, we're all crossing our fingers and thoughts and prayers. And what are you going to do? I'm not a doctor. There's nothing much that I can do besides that. But
yeah, I mean, it is.
It's for the children, for God's sakes.
Well, it's frustrating because, like you said, I mean, there are people.
Yeah, and there are people
who have legitimate reasons that they can't get it, or like if you're a child of a certain age, it hasn't been approved for you yet, or you have some medical condition. I mean, there are people that genuinely are unable to get them. So to see people who could easily get one
mm-hmm.
and are choosing not to, it makes me want to it makes me want to just drive their face into a wall. It's like
And like there's
you know, like there is no reason if you can get one without hardship, there is no reason for you not to get it.
yeah.
And I mean,
And that there, I mean, other than, you know, medical necessity or, you know, being under 12, there's no hardship.
no, yeah, because they're
I mean,
free.
they're free, and I mean, it may not be super duper convenient. You know, you may have to make an appointment, but other than that, like it's, I have somebody on my Facebook feed who is a Trump supporter, like flat out said in a comment response to me that, you know, one thing that he thinks that Biden has done well is getting the vaccine out. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean,
oh,
how
oh,
can you
oh.
how can you argue
I,
against that unless you're just being dishonest? Like,
but I hadn't brought it
yeah,
up. Like he brought it up. I was
uh,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay. I was not expecting like, you know, an acknowledgement of fact from you, but cool.
yeah,
It was actually very encouraging. So I was like, okay, you know, I just, you know, yeah.
yeah.
Um, but and I've also, oh gosh, yeah. So wait, the apparent Lafayette Square. Scott. I don't know what you're talking about. I have apparently been blissfully unaware. It sounds like.
I'm not sure what that's referring to either. I haven't,
Um,
but
Radical Bacon. It's available on Peacock,
if
and
you're,
then
yeah, I don't know if you're, I mean, if you're, I don't know if you're a Peacock subscriber or if it's available without subscription, but that's where I'm watching it. I'm watching it on Peacock. It turned out to not be as widely available as I was hoping because someone said it was on Amazon, but you have to rent it. It's not on Hulu at all. So I'm watching it on Peacock. So hopefully everybody will be able to watch it along with us, either streaming somewhere or you have your own copy on DVD or on your computer like Dana has. But yeah,
oh Corey,
thanks for killing the buzz, Sarah. Have a nice
oh
evening.
come on, yeah, we're talking about politics. Yeah, real kills the
Yeah,
buzz
yeah, I
around here.
know,
We
boy.
never do things like
No,
that.
I never. I hate talking of politics.
So Corey, I'm so sorry to hear that, and
Yeah,
you won't be able to get them vaccinated before the school year. That's a bummer. And
yeah.
I mean,
Well, just because of their ages, presumably.
yeah. Well, and Aaron Mixon, sorry, that threw me off. Disney, if Disney owns Fox, well, it apparently because we did a sound check. It's produced by Universal.
Yeah,
So
Fox doesn't own the movie. I'm not
yeah.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least Fox doesn't own the movie. Maybe Fox still has some rights to the TV show, and
Mm-hmm.
the movie was just, you know, a different deal. I'm not. I don't know. I've got no idea. I'm staying out of it. What?
What are you doing with
I don't
accents
know. I
tonight?
don't know. I'm just. I don't know.
You're just having a good
I'm
time.
just having a good time.
I'm sorry to hear you're having an anxious day. I'm, yeah. I'm hoping that I am feeling pretty good about the school year, given that I work with high schoolers, and most of them should be able to. Most of them should be able to get vaccinated. Well, all of them are able to get vaccinated,
And
but
hopefully
most of them,
most
yeah.
of them will be by the time fall rolls around. And yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, because from what you've told me, the plan right now, at least in your district, and I would imagine in most other
A
places
lot,
around the
yeah.
country, is it's going to be more or less back to normal when school comes back in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh bugger! I didn't do that. I was going to get together with some of the other teachers in my department and say, okay, so how are we going to, you know, because we didn't. I mean, with the pandemic, how are we sort of reset our expectations for what we were going to ask of our students given the pandemic? But that also means that we need to reset our expectations for the students that we get given the pandemic for the last year and a half. Even if, you know, everybody is back at school every day,
Mm-hmm.
the last year and a half, they haven't had the instruction that we would typically have expected from them. So anyhow.
Yeah. Radical Bacon says it's not behind a Peacock paywall, but just be careful. There might still be ads on it. So you might need to pay attention to the time code to, stay caught up with us. If there are ads on it, if it's, not behind a paywall or not behind you don't need to have to be a subscriber or whatever.
Here, Mixon, we'll have to talk about that. Although I don't think we'll get to talk about that. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be, I think as we've talked about before, like I'm not super attached to any of the characters. So like I can't imagine the movie, treating a particular character a particular way that would like upset me. You know what I mean? Because like
yeah. Well,
I don't
also it
really.
depends, Richard. It depends on what specifically Armexon's talking about. Because not everybody, they're not all as involved as they are in the TV series. And so, if he's just talking that, Book doesn't get as much screen time, that's different. It depends on what he means by that.
I mean, Book didn't get a whole hell of a lot of screen time in the series.
Mm-hmm.
There were entire episodes where he was barely even there.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not one of the, I mean, it is, there's a core cast, but he's not one of the principal characters, I'd say.
I get the feeling, and I know other people, have said this about other things about the show. I get the feeling he was a character that they were clearly setting things up for.
Mm-hmm.
They were sort of throwing in little hints about like his backstory.
That there's more going on.
Exactly. He wasn't quite what he appears to be. And then the show ended and it just kind of was like, oh, okay, whatever that was about. Like, so I mean, they were sort of teasing other things for him, but in the show that we actually got, I mean, they might as well just not have even had him in the show. Cause he honestly, I mean, he had a few memorable moments, but I mean, like, can you honestly say the series would have been any worse if they hadn't had Book in it? Unfortunately,
I think it would have been. Yeah, I think he adds something to it, but I mean, not markedly. Let's say
he's good. I mean, he's a potentially interesting character, and like I said, like some of the moments that were more memorable for him were good, but it's kind of like, and I hate to say this, but it's kind of like if they had never put Chekhov on Star Trek, would it really have been that big of a deal? No, it wouldn't have been. All due respect to Walter Koenig, who is a wonderful, hardworking actor who's done some terrific work. All due respect to Chekhov, who is a fine character. But let's be honest, if they never added Chekhov to Star Trek, none of us would miss him. He's just another guy on the show.
Corey has a point.
Corey says, I would have been upset about the loss of the line about the special hell. See, that's another instance where I barely remember that line. That's one of those lines that I think people quote a lot. I faintly remember the line he's referring to. I don't remember. There's a special hell for people who do something.
For Saffron, when he's taking advantage of this, innocent, this innocent young thing, people who take advantage of those who are dependent upon them go to the special hell.
Oh, right. Yeah. I barely remember that.
That's not okay, Steve. You're taking my gig.
Yeah, Duralta Trekkie. That's actually, I mean, it's one of those things that I always, it's the type of thing that I love. Like there's a famous line.
Corey, see, very good. Child molesters and people who talk in the theater,
which is fair enough, and on both counts, it's fair enough.
Exactly.
But yeah, Duralta Trekkie mentions a moment in Star Trek II where, of course, Chekhov is the first member of the former Enterprise crew to encounter Khan. And when Khan sees him, he recognizes him and says, "Mr. Chekhov, I never forget a face." But of course, Khan's episode of the original Star Trek was in the first season when Chekhov wasn't on the show yet. So he remembers a character that didn't actually exist when he first appeared.
Hadn't appeared on the show yet, but might have been part of the crew who just wasn't featured. He was, he was doing his job elsewhere.
It's easy enough. It's easy enough. It's easy enough to reconcile. It's not like a world-breaking thing, but I mean, yeah, I think
continuity, Steve. This is how it works.
I just think it's a really, It's a funny little quirk that's like, oh, the first character that he sees that he claims to remember is someone who was not in that episode.
Snake Pit Cat. Yeah, I would say that that's a good point.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what Chekhov represented. But I mean, it's not like they never really used Chekhov specifically to hit that point very hard. And in fact, one of the best examples of like a Cold War allegory that the classic Trek crew ever did was Star Trek Six, their last movie, which Chekhov is in, but has almost nothing important to do. So it's not like, oh, thank God they had the Russian guy there so they could tell that great Cold War story. It's like, I mean, again, no disrespect to Chekhov. I think Chekhov is great, but he's definitely the book of his show.
All right. Well, maybe we
Okay.
should, since it's like 20 after we've done our spieling,
Yes.
and hopefully people have had time to get things queued up
Yes. 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 And once
and
again, for
find
people,
and found.
yeah, absolutely. So
Where the
for
hell
people
did I
who
put
are
that DVD?
for people who are watching on Peacock and you're not a subscriber, so you're going to have ads, I would recommend you watch the time code that is up at the top of our video there, because that will tell you where we're at when we're watching it. And if you need to catch up or whatever, that's how you can sort of keep synced up with it. And we are, even though there's no commercials for us, because we're watching it without ads and it's a movie, we will be stopping like we usually do every 15 minutes or so to just to pause and talk about
Scene
what's
breaks and
happened so far.
such.
Yeah. And we're gonna, and Dana, you know what our stopping point is, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we're not going to watch the whole thing tonight. We're going to watch half tonight and half
Week after next.
week after next.
Because next week is DS9.
Next week is DS9, featuring my favorite character. But anyway, so everybody get ready. Yeah, that's right. Ace of Sevens. Yes, Dana and I have the same time code because we're both watching the movie, and we're watching the same version.
Oh,
So,
Loretta, recover quickly and safely.
oh yes,
Charles,
yes,
it'll
Loretta.
just be about every seed breaks at the 15 to 20 minute mark. Every 15 or 20 minutes or so, and then just sort of where Steve is like, okay, we can talk about something.
Yeah, I'll do 3, 2, 1 pause like I do at commercials. So hopefully
But
everybody
there
will.
aren't going to be specific I haven't gone through and marked. Okay, we need to stop at this point, this point, this
Right.
point, and so on.
I'll just try to kind of keep an eye on the clock, and when we get like to the end of a scene, every 15 ish,
to 20 minutes,
15 to 20 minutes or so, I'll call for a pause, and so just pay attention. All right, shall we?
Let's.
Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, everybody get ready. I'll count us in as usual, and we will start watching what should have been called Firefly the movie, but is actually called.
Wah, wah, wah.
So I'm just saying. I'm just free advice.
Okay,
like
start us up.
Like free
Jeez.
advice, like 10 years
Jeez.
too late. Okay,
Jeez.
15 years too late. Okay,
Jeez.
okay. Jesus, here we go. And 3, 2, 1, play.
Ooh, fanfare.
Ooh. It's a movie.
Dun dun.
What's funny is when you get like the DVD of Knight Rider or Magnum PI, and you watch like in individual episodes instead of hitting play disc, every episode begins with the Universal logo like it's a movie. I'm like, this is a little much.
Swoosh.
Ooh. Long ago on a planet called Krypton. Cool. Them's formed the alliance, if you don't mind. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. river. How about you put your iPad away while we're talking? She's not the best teacher.
A little bit savage. Speaking of savage.
Neat. Obviously. Oh, he's taking off his Babylon 5 cosplay. They're all to Trekkie. So if a teacher says, I want to pick your brain, I don't think they mean it literally. Look out. Here comes the Spider Girl. I have clearance, Clarence. I have been watching. Boy, dropping some backstory.
Love is the most lethal form of madness, some would say.
Gluttony, I'm guessing. Oh. Mm-hmm. It's your lucky day. I know all the pressure points. And you were a fantastic tour guide.
Couldn't even get their own damn font.
Papyrus, baby.
The real reason the show was canceled.
Yeah, is that just they just used papyrus? They didn't even stretch it or anything?
Well, no, they did. I mean, they played with the kerning some. It's much closer together than typical papyrus would be. But
So they didn't just do they didn't just do a copy paste.
I remember that sound. It's a bad sound. Wait. Did you say it turned inside out and exploded? Hold, please.
Are we crashing again?
Are we crashing again? Darren's pointing out the follow shot.
Yes, this is Joss Whedon saying, "I can make movies. Hire me to make movies." Fear leads to anger. Is she now?
Merlian wants to know where we're at.
Time code is on the screen, my friend. We're at 1340. Summer Glau was 24 when this was made, by the way. I don't believe for a second that River is 17.
Summer isn't River. River is a character. She's a
But she's
fictional
obvious.
character, Steve.
She's. I know, but it's obvious that she's
Hey, look,
the
Tom
actor is.
Welling. Tom Welling was 24 when he played a
when
freshman.
he started. I know. I'm not saying it's the only example. I'm just saying they could have made her any age. Why did they make her 17? Like, it's
because
ridiculous.
nobody would believe, because she's supposed to be childlike, but
Well,
nobody's going to believe she's 12.
Well, but I thought that I thought that was the childlike was part of like the way they messed with her head. Like she could be any age. She's been experimented on.
When he's Duralto Trekkie, when he started.
Yeah.
Richard, that's debatable. She wasn't rescued from the school. She was rescued from the experimental facility. Ace of Sevens, I would disagree. Simon would still see himself as responsible for her, especially since he's a doctor.
Yeah, Corey, I know it's what you can notice. Hey, everything looks a lot better now than it looked during the TV series. Ace of Seven's another great example. We're supposed to
Yeah.
believe that
I mean,
Courtney and
there are
Xander were 15 or
so
16.
many.
Yeah, yeah.
Like every teen TV show
But
ever.
I'm just saying, like, because this isn't like a high school show,
Yeah.
like, there's no reason why River has to be any particular age, and to make her
Richard
17 when
Richard
she's
points
clearly
out
not.
that Richard points out that the parents were told that the experimental facility was a school.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just feel
Yeah.
like it's silly to be like, oh yeah, she's 17. It's like no.
And also, I mean, she could have been, on to university by that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lupus. That's a great point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Especially the feet.
the feet, the bare feet. God, oh my God, can you imagine the conversations Whedon and Tarantino would have about women's feet? I don't want to imagine them, but I'm saying you could, and they'd be pretty screwed up. I was going to say the protagonist, but I guess we're thinking in different senses.
The hero isn't always the protagonist, Steve. I have a whole lesson on that. I think it's a video on my channel. Characterization. Hi, Carrie.
Grandpa. Who asks the thieves for their password? Like, I told you. Ah, nice. The mercy kill. That too. No grenades. Gonna have to shoot your leg off, buddy. Don't shoot me first.
I love the break.
He's the good guy, so he's a crack shot.
Of course.
Lisa, is he? Where do you get that at? The Mal's pushing 60 in the movie? Where does that come from? I've never gotten. Is that from the show? Did we ever
I
establish
don't
if he
know.
was that
That
old?
doesn't.
That
Yeah,
seems weird.
yeah. He's like way not there.
No, he's like in his maybe in his early 40s, maybe. Like I'm not sure what age Fillion was at this point, but I mean, he's in his 30s or 40s.
And I think this would be a good spot.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay. So, and it just so happens it's when your pizza gets here too.
Woohoo!
So I'm paused at 25:58. So that is where we will.
Ooh, me too.
How
Nicely
about that?
done. Imagine.
So we'll start back there when we resume. But yeah, paused at 25:58. Um,
Okay. Lisa and Corey explained it. Uh, that he was originally, the character was originally supposed to be significantly older, but then we
I
didn't like
gotcha.
Nathan Fillion for the role. So, and in fairness, he does a really good job. So,
Well, and also I think did somebody in the chat mention that that the estimate was based on an on-screen date of birth, and you
Mhm.
have to take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. I mean, you know,
or 8.
there's stuff that, like you know, like you have to remember, especially before the age of HD, like a lot of times when you'd get like a quick shot of like someone's ID or a
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like just information about them on a computer screen or something, like you weren't really meant to notice specifically what that was. Like sometimes the set
Laura
decorator.
Dollar, folks.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, sometimes they would take care to make it so that it was right or that it made sense, and other times it was just, yeah, it was just like, oh, you're just supposed to register that there's something written there and you get what it is and that's it, you
Yeah.
know.
um, Radical Bacon, you'll have plenty of time to get caught up. Just like mute us and get caught up. We're paused at like Steve said,
2558.
2558. And it's right after Rivers says he didn't lie down.
Yeah. And I'm pinning a chat message with the time code that we're paused
There
at,
you
so there too.
go.
So
As you do.
as one does. So yeah, very exciting beginning. Quite the thrilling first act.
Okay.
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
Uh,
What do you actually remember, Steve?
I mean, it's just a really exciting action set piece. I think it's a good entry point into the, you know, if you've never seen the show, an introduction, and if you've seen the show, a reintroduction to the main
Mm-hmm.
characters. You know, you sort of get a sense of everybody's personality and how everybody kind of relates and interacts with each other. Most of it doesn't seem too exposition-y. You know, there was a lot of, as you know, in that first scene with the bad
Mm-hmm.
guy when he was watching the tape of their escape. There was a lot of, you know, exposition there, but once you actually get on board the ship and you're with the characters, there's not a lot of that, which I think is, but yet they still do set everything up pretty well, you know, so that if you are coming into it cold and you've never watched the show, you know what's going on and you know who everybody is, or you get a sense of who they are. So I think that bit is really well done.
I think
Um,
that first scene, it works really nice, or that opening sequence, it works really nicely, because it's not just exposition.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
exposition in there, but I mean, it also, you know, um, the use of color also is really nice. You know, River's dream sequence about being back at school,
mm-hmm.
um, and then the shift to the facility, and yeah, it's just
Well, and the shift, there's two shifts, right? Because
mhm.
I mean, presumably when we start, we're actually in River's head, and then it shifts
That's
from
what,
like,
yeah,
yeah, from her memory to her being in the facility, and then from there that shifts to the guy watching the
yes.
tape
So
of their
in the
escape.
facility,
And
yeah,
yeah, so you know, her dream sequence wasn't on the security tape, so we were actually with her in the beginning, and then it, you know, well, how would her dream sequence be on the security tape?
it's science fiction. It's the future. They can, like, you know,
They have
translate the, I don't know.
they have Dr. Hugo Strange technology.
Yeah, like they can like, you know, get the brain sequences. Although it's indicated that he says he doesn't know, you know, what's going on inside her brain.
Right.
But
Yeah.
of course, you know, at that point he's, you know, seen the blade and he's you know, covering. He's like,
Yeah.
I will say whatever it takes to just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. And in speaking of that bit, we meet the villain who seems like a really bad guy.
He seems
Like
absolutely terrible. Have you seen him in anything else?
I recognize him from something, but I can't place him, but I know I've seen him in something else. What have I seen him in?
Did you see Kinky Boots?
No, I did not see Kinky Boots.
You're missing out, man. That's not red. It's burgundy. He's just so outraged. It's great. It's great. It's my favorite. So yeah, it's hard to know, because I've always been a little uncertain on, you know, what they're actually able to get out of her. you know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a
Because
science
I mean,
fiction movie. It can. It's
what's the
yeah,
use of a psychic that can't pass on what she knows? What's the point of developing a psychic if it just stays, if
yeah.
they don't communicate?
Can't just
It's so
stick a needle in her head and siphon out her memories or whatever.
yep. So let's see, and then of course we've noticed that Book and Inara are not there.
We haven't seen them yet,
Mm-hmm.
and there seems to be uh, some heightened tension between Simon and Mao that was not quite there on the show. They were never like best friends on the show, and there was always like a little bit of, but the them being at each other's throats like this, and the idea of River like leaving the ship to go help on a job is kind of new too, because they never really were doing that on the show. So some things are different. Presumably,
Yeah.
some time has passed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some
I think it's been said and said it's supposed to be like a year later.
yeah, because a few years went by between the end of the show and the movie, and so some period of time in world has gone by as well. But it's not a whole lot, but maybe yeah, like somebody said, maybe a year or two. I have no
Yeah.
idea what I'm
And
sure
then
there are
some
Firefly fans just like Star Trek fans that know like what fucking year it's supposed to be and can tell you exactly,
the
or like
star date, they can tell you the star
yeah,
date.
or like Star Wars fans are like it's so and so years after the Battle of Yavin, and I'm just like whatever.
uh Trying to think there's so yeah, and of course, Reaver's ooh scary. And
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I
yeah.
really like Adam Baldwin's voice crack on well, don't shoot me now.
Don't shoot me now. Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
It's such a shame that he's
He
not great as a person
that he
because his
turned out to be
performance
such a
is
horrible
yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, there should be like a fucking what was that the VH1 reality show where it was like all the celebrities that lived in the house. I forget what it was, but anyway, but if they should do somebody should do like a reality show where all the people that live in the house are people who played awesome characters on TV shows but turned out to be horrible people in real life. So you could have Adam Baldwin, you could have Dean Cain, you could have Kevin Sorbo, you could have Gina Carano, and like they could all like share the house and be roommates, and we could all be like, boy, their characters were so great. Why'd they have to be such dog shit human beings?
Make for a great. Well, I'm sure they'd all get along just fine.
The Surreal Life. Thank you, Ace of Sevens. The Surreal Life, it was called. Of course, that's what it was called. I only really remember the Bronson Pinchot season because that's the only one I ever actually watched because it's Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers.
Exactly.
Of course, I watched that season. Yeah, Darren, good point. And give them a new fan base. Well, unless you dedicate the show to just humiliating them and making them look like jerks to sort of cut down on the exposing them to a new fan base.
Or making them miserable.
Yeah, just, don't even do a show. Just tell them it's a show and then just lock them in a house and leave. And don't let them out and just let them starve to death in the house.
So yeah, it's really good at establishing,
yeah,
inner planets, outer planets, blah, 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 blah.
Radical Bacon. Actually, there were no Perfect Strangers DVDs. I never owned it on DVD. I used to have digital copies of all the episodes, and now I think it was on. It used to be on Hulu. I don't know if it's still on Hulu or not. But if
Besides, you don't need that. You know them.
I got it's all up here.
You just pull them up in your heart.
It's all up here.
Or
but
there.
Yeah, they're but if there had been Perfect Strangers DVDs, I would have gotten them. That would have not that would not have been. I mean, that wouldn't that wouldn't have been an issue. That wouldn't have been an issue. There was only one Perfect Stranger super fan in the house, and it was me.
All right, we ready to get back into it?
Yeah, let's get ready to get back into it. So, once again, we are paused at 25:58, and I will count us in from 3, and we will continue watching Serenity. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play.
Ace of sevens, yes.
Maybe Jane. Yes.
So we need a hog. Now that conversation was a little exposition-y, Mm-hmm.
but I feel like he kind of, needed it.
Yeah.
Charles Chapman. It's a good thing he's not hung up on her. I know, right? Also, Snake Bit Cat, I have to disagree with you. You can't swap the Enterprise and Perfect Strangers theme songs because then Perfect Strangers would have the wrong theme song. And that's just not going to fly with me. I'm sorry.
Are you?
I'm no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not sorry.
Rarely.
Everybody knows that. I'm going to kill somebody. You're setting her up for that. Yeah, yeah. You set
Mm-hmm.
yourself up for that one, Mal. Walked right
Yeah,
into it.
come on.
I mean, the David Schwimmer twins.
I love the look.
Crikey. I'm very susceptible to advertising.
Which one of y'all kicked me?
uh, oh, she has a Winter Soldier trigger. Cool. You're welcome.
I hope they got lots of money.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
seriously, everybody down.
Yeah. Oh, it has face recognition. Mm-hmm. Like yellow or
Be careful, radical bacon.
well, I mean, to be fair, nobody was speaking Russian on the ship. I mean, the odds were.
Fruity Odie Bits was not Russian.
Oh, is it? Did Fruity? Oh, yeah, yeah, I guess that kind of
Yeah.
set her off. Yeah.
Richard Moore. Ah!
Yeah, it's, I mean, being close is one thing, but there should be a boundary.
Because I'm a sucker.
Because it's the plot. You can see her; she's visible. I mean, just look at her. Mal's safe word is apples. That's good. Charles Chapman, Mr. Plot Device. Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Charles, it's going to be around 55 minutes, a little bit past, maybe 56-ish.
Is that where we're stopping?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I didn't know.
Okay, Jane.
I'm just going to chloroform you a little. Hi. About time you got me in the damn movie.
He's put the hair away.
Yes, I noticed. Like velociraptors. Yeah, you'll have to tell us all about that sometime.
No, he won't.
Hmm.
Popcorn.
Yeah, so you all eavesdropped on my call, huh? Cool. Oh boy, my own ship. Lisa, no, never. Doesn't work for me, brother. Nicely done. Maybe not. Richard Moore, I like that. Had Thor watched this movie, he would have aimed correctly. Indeed. Nobody breaks the full Nelson. Well, maybe somebody does.
When the plot demands
When
it.
the plot demands. Nice.
3, 2, 1, pause.
All right. Nicely
That's
done.
it.
And
You.
that's all we're
Yeah,
watching.
that's our stop point.
Okay, so I'm paused at 58:18. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And that's where we'll pick up in
I'm going to suggest that we
yeah.
pick up at the beginning of this conversation as
Okay.
a way of kind of restarting that.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah. Well, so you'll tell us the time code
yeah,
when we
I'll
start
just scroll back. So.
week after next. So yeah. So
Yeah.
that's roughly the first half of Serenity. That's all we're going to watch tonight. So yeah. I'm I would be curious how a person who had not watched the show and did not have a pre-existing interest or attachment to these characters would respond to this, because I think, as we talked about earlier, like I think the movie has done a good job of letting us know who everybody is and sort of what, like it's easy to follow. Like I can imagine, even if I had never seen the show, I would be able to follow it. I don't know how much I would care about it.
Yeah.
It feels like, so far it feels like an episode of the show with a bigger budget and some extra exposition to make sure that everybody, can follow what's going on. You know what I mean? Like it's not, and just in terms of its own story, it's not super compelling at this point.
Well, check the
So,
chat.
oh, they're out to Trekkie, yes.
And
Oh,
Richard
Radical
and
Bacon.
Radical Bacon. So we have quite a few who actually were introduced to Firefly through the big damn movie.
Yeah. Now, and keep in mind, as I've said before, part of it is also, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. And while I liked the TV show, I mean, it didn't exactly blow my hair back. I mean, it was just sort of okay. So,
Don't you mean blow your hat off? At least you got that. As you showed everybody this week.
Because apparently the video from the vasectomy video was the first time I've ever had my hat off, even though
my goodness, no hat. Although, of course, you did say that it was an inaccurate representation, so you could have had the hat on.
I could have, but
that would have been inaccurate.
Well, and also I've done that gag a whole bunch in other videos. Like I've done that gag a whole bunch where it's like I'm naked except for the hat, or like I've just taken a shower but I had my hat on, or I just got up. I'm coming straight from having just gotten up out of bed and I have the hat on. I've done that joke a bunch.
Oh, so you're not going to buy a Fruity Odie Bar T-shirt?
No, I do not believe I will be purchasing any Firefly themed merchandise.
I'm a little hungry. I could go for a Fruity Odie bar.
I mean, honestly, I like Star Wars way more than I like Firefly, and I don't own any Star Wars T-shirts at all. Like I have the Mystery Science Theater T-shirt that says, that you saw the other day when we were talking, that says there's just a sign that says Star Wars, but technically that's not a Star Wars shirt. That's a Mystery Science Theater shirt. Technically, it's not even officially a Mystery Science Theater shirt because I had it made myself. It's not like I bought it off of, but it's a reference to Mystery Science Theater, not a reference to Star
Precision
Wars.
matters.
But anyway, yeah. Yeah, radical bacon. But do you really want to bust out of your blouse? Yeah, again, not really. I don't think a fruity oaty bar. Although I don't know if that would be an issue with you, Dana.
Probably not. It's stretchy.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, and I'm enjoying the movie to this point. I think it's well made. I think it's had some funny lines. But like, I can say this, and I appreciate people, in the chat saying that like they saw the movie first and it turned them on to the show. Like, I think that's good to know. But I can't imagine if I had seen this movie when it came out, having not seen the show, I don't think I would have been like, oh, I got to see the show.
Well, yeah,
I
but I
mean,
mean, if you just happened to watch an episode of the show on your own, you wouldn't necessarily have felt compelled to watch the rest of the show
well,
either. So
no,
it fits right
and I wasn't, because I watched the first couple episodes of the show, years and years and years ago, and I thought, oh, this is all right, and then like
Didn't watch the rest.
like I owned it. I have it here somewhere. I'm pretty sure I brought it with me when I moved. Like, I have the first, I have the show on DVD somewhere. I haven't,
Look for
watched it. I haven't watched it since like probably the day after I got it. But I have it somewhere. Radical Bacon, that's really interesting. You saw it in a theater where it was paired with Dr. Horrible's Sing Along Blog, which, by the way, I also don't remember very much about, but I do remember liking a lot more than I've liked anything about Firefly so far. I thought Dr. Horrible was really funny, but I don't remember a whole lot about it, other than Nathan Fillion is in it and he's really funny.
Yeah.
And of course, Bad Horse, who is, I think Bad Horse is my favorite joke in the whole thing, because it's like, oh, he's literally a horse. And it's like when they finally have the shot of Bad Horse at the end, at their version of like, the Legion of Doom or whatever, like the team of supervillains, and Bad Horse is like at the head of the table and it's like an actual horse. I'm just, oh, that's great.
You weren't expecting that.
Well, it was really funny. It was a really funny, because it's like, no, it's literally just a horse, and you don't see him talk or do anything.
But he's bad.
He's a bad horse, so I'm told. He's a bad horse.
His reputation preceded him.
Yes, indeed. Charles Chapman, I don't remember that line. Again, it's been a long time since I saw it.
Dude, you're stealing my gig.
I'm sorry, God.
You should be.
Fuck.
I don't know that I believe you.
I'm not like that sorry, but I mean, I have certain regrets about it.
About stealing my gig?
About stealing your gig, yes.
Okay.
I have a certain level of regret.
This much.
That much, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot to say at this point. I mean, I know what happens. I think it's been, set up pretty well. But yeah. It's mostly set up at this point. So there's not a lot that I can say that won't that won't give away things about the second half of the movie.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, and some of this is stuff I'm sure we can talk about when we finish watching it, but I mean, it's one of those situations where it's still not all that common, but it's happened more often in the last probably 20, 25 years or so than it ever happened before that, where you'll get a movie version of a TV show that was either just on TV or in some cases is still actually on TV. Like they did the movie version of the first X-Files movie was when the X-Files was still on TV.
Running,
they did, because like with Star Trek, with the first Star Trek movie, the show had been off for like 10 years when they did the first Star Trek movie. And even with the first TNG Star Trek movie, like they ended the show first and then they did the movies. But with the X-Files, they were just like, no, screw this. We're not going to end the show. We'll just do a movie while the show's still on.
Yeah.
And
we'll just make more money.
Maybe they should have ended the so so with the X-Files and also with Firefly, because it had only been a few years since the show ended, it's interesting to see like it's the same but it's different. You know what I mean? Like it's like the you know
We have
the
more money now.
there's that, and it's like the lighting is different. Like you can always every time I see like, and even for someone like me who's watched so much TV and so many movies, like when you watch a TV show and then you watch a movie, especially if it's like a TV show and a movie, but they're in the same property,
Universe,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's like the difference between TV lighting and movie lighting is always stunning. You know what I mean? Because like Firefly was a fairly dramatically lit show. Like it wasn't shot like a sort of a an old school like '80s drama where everything was done with like flat lighting and you know what I mean. Like when they were on board the ship on the show, like you could it had like atmospheric lighting and it wasn't. But then you see the movie and it's like, oh, okay, now they're doing movie lighting. Like there's always a difference, even on a show that had relatively, you could tell they put some thought into the lighting. Like just because you have so much more money and you have so much more time, when you're setting up a shot in a movie, you can actually take the time to think about the lighting and make sure that it looks interesting and make sure that it looks appropriate and everything. And it's just little things like that where you're like, oh, this is a movie now, like
Radical Bacon wants to talk about the unused in our plot. Go for it, because I knew there was, but I'm not familiar with it.
yeah,
Or actually, I might have been familiar with it, and I've just forgotten, because that's my superpower, not yours, Steve.
yours, Dana. Yours. Yeah. So I don't know what the unused in our plot is. So if Radical Bacon, if you
So
want
you
to
get to
tell
tell
us about
us.
that, please. And Charles Chapman, what do I think Miranda is? I have no idea. I don't really care. I'm gonna guess it's her mom's name or something insipid like that. But
No, because we
I
met
have
their
no idea.
parents.
Oh, see, I forgot about that. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know what
So
Miranda is.
yeah,
I'm not.
Simon
I'm
would know.
yeah.
Simon would know her mom's name.
Well, that's true. See, this is how invested I am in this. I'm just like I don't know. Uh, like I'm, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in the middle where like I don't dislike it in any way. Like I'm not like, I'm not
Oh,
having
this
a bad,
sucks.
yeah, I'm not having a bad time watching it at all, but it means nothing to me. I mean, like I'm just watching it going, oh, okay. Like, hey, why did you say that name? That's Martha. That's a different M name.
Uh, well, Radical Bacon. I hope she's typing. I hope they're typing, because
Yeah. Save Miranda. Why did you say that name? Is Miranda someone to be saved? Is that who Miranda is?
I'm not going to tell you.
So that's a yes. Okay, Radical Bacon says, so Inara is dying. Okay.
I think I remember that.
I mean, it gives her
Like
something
she
to
has
do.
some kind of terminal disease or something.
At least it's a story for her. I mean, at least it gives her something to do.
Yeah, Philip, exactly. I'm like, oh yeah, something about that.
Oh, so was this going to be like an unused plot for the show, or was this supposed to be the movie that she's dying in the
Well,
movie?
sort of yes, both. I mean,
Oh,
they
but
they
it was an idea that they had for the show originally, and that they were
yeah,
going to carry through to the movie.
yeah. And I think that's also why she didn't become a priestess. So
Was that a thing too? She was going to become a priestess.
not like book, but like sort of a governing member of the guild.
Okay, okay.
Because Nandi says something about it. The sex worker who used to be a whatever Inara is. See, there's
Companion.
my superpower at work.
Companion.
See, there you go. There you go. Thank you for not stealing my gig.
I remembered a thing that things are called in the show. Richard Moore asks, why would I say that I think that people who watch the movie first would be less invested in the characters when you yourself aren't invested? Well, I mean, I do. I have to qualify by saying that having watched the entire series now, I'm still not that invested in anything. So I mean, I'm not necessarily the best, you know, test case. But I just say having watched the movie so far, the word I would describe it with is it's fine. Like there's nothing about it so far that is particularly brilliant or particularly captivating. It's, you know, it's got some nice moments like we talked about earlier. Like I admire the way the opening scenes sort of function to introduce or reintroduce everybody, and you know, you can sort of catch up and follow what's going on, and you know the important things about all the characters. But you know, it just, there's nothing in it. And again, speaking from my own
Hmm.
perspective, there's
And
nothing in it
so
that grabs me. There's nothing in it that makes me think, oh shit, I have to see what happens next. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I think part of it is they don't have as much time to develop the characters as they did in the show. And they you know, they really did take the time to not sort of have them develop, but to establish them. And by Panda 3 style.
Panda 3
Um,
style.
so one thing that I wondered is you were talking over Book when he said something. Did you hear what he said to Mal at the end there? Because
No,
they were talking about his past.
I forget what he said. I did have subtitles on, so
Okay.
if we were talking over it, I could read it. But
Okay.
I can't remember what he said. What did he
Okay,
say?
because Mal said you're gonna have to tell me about that sometime.
Then he said no, I won't. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which okay, fine. Don't tell me. Just continue continue to be a
No, no,
character with it. Yeah.
no. He's you know he. I always read that as or understood that more as I don't have to tell you. I don't I don't owe that to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't have to. It doesn't have to happen.
That's true.
So,
That struck me as that's not such a that's not as much of an example, but like, you know how sometimes like it's like a scene has an extra line, like the scene should have ended a line before it does. Like that's kind of an example of that, because I think a better end to that conversation would be, you know, Mal saying you have to tell me about that sometime, and then just leave it hanging so that we can come back to it. But there's a scene in the ship. Um, it's when Mal does the joke where he's like, if I'm not back in an hour, take the ship and come rescue me, right? That should have been
it's
the end.
more yeah. If I'm not back in an hour, take the ship and come rescue
And
me.
come rescue me. And that should have been the last line of that scene, but they keep going
Mhm.
and they have their little band, you know, where Zoe says, and risk my ship. And they're like, blah, 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 and the scene just kind of dribbles out.
Yeah,
And it's like, no, that shouldn't, it should have,
yeah.
that's a good joke to end on. Like if I'm, you know what I mean? If you're
Because
not back
you think it's going to take the ship and you know
and
save the
yeah,
rest of the
get
crew.
the hell out of here. Yeah.
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 No.
Yeah.
Very much like, you know, no, this is something the captain's got to do on his own. Nope. No, it's not. Oh,
no,
okay.
come get me.
Bam, 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 bam. Oh yeah, what did you think of the Reavers?
I mean, they're like generic sci-fi bad guys. I mean, I still think the most effective use of the Reavers that I have seen is in the first episode when everybody's really scared of them and they're keeping still and quiet and hoping that they fly over. I don't think the Reavers have ever been any better than in that scene, because that was a great scene. It
Mm-hmm.
really established them as like a serious threat. Like, oh shit, everybody's afraid of them. They don't even want to fight them. They just want to, you know, huddle up and hope that they pass them by, right?
Yeah, you don't even want to run like to the point you don't even want to run away.
Yeah, exactly. Like every other instance of them in the show and so far in the movie, they just seem like generic bad guys to me. Like they don't seem particularly interesting
It's
or
hard though
impressive.
because I mean, you know, they and I felt similarly about them, but I was just like, well, you know, what are you gonna do? You know,
Well,
I
and that's sort
mean,
of the trap that you
they went,
fall
you know,
into. Yeah.
the whole. I mean, you know, they want us to be alive when they eat us.
Yeah.
That's like pretty gruesome, but you know, I don't brew well. You know, I don't. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. It's like I say, I mean, and it's a little bit like what we were talking about a couple weeks ago when we were talking about, like, you know, when you set up the unbeatable villain
Mm-hmm.
and then you beat them and then you keep bringing them back. It's like the Reavers. One the thing I liked about the Reavers in the first episode was that you didn't see them,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you didn't act, like they were just a threat looming off screen, that again, because of the way the episode was written and shot and everything, like it was very effective. Like they really established that sense of tension and anxiety attached to the Reavers. And it's like I was saying when we were having this conversation before, they show up and it's like, oh, they're just bad guys.
Yeah.
They're just bad guys. They're just
Yeah.
like any other bunch of bad guys. Oh, but they're really bad though. They'll eat you and rape you. And like, yeah, but we're not going to see that. They're not going to do that. Like, we're
This is television.
this is television. And apparently the people who made the movie thought it was still television too, because they're still doing that, not actually cussing thing, which is kind of annoying. I mean, like it's PG-13. You can't say the F bomb more than once, but you can say like shit and God. You don't have to say gore ram for Christ's sake. You can say goddamn. Like you don't have to talk like children anymore. You're not on TV. You're in a movie. It's just mildly irritating. It's like, oh, they're still doing that thing. It's like if they made like a theatrical movie of like Battlestar Galactica and they were still saying like frag. I'm like, come on, guys, seriously, you did that for TV. Please don't ask me to believe that they actually talk that way. Like, come on. Yeah, they're out to Trekkie like the Borg. I think that was my big example when we were talking about that before. Yeah, like the more times you see them, the less scary they are because you can't have them kill the good guys. So the good guys have to keep beating them or getting away from them.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, it's like, oh, maybe they're not so bad. you know? Yeah, frack, exactly. Yeah, but it's like it was the this so you could have them cuss without actually cussing because it was TV. But it's like you're making a movie, so just have them cuss. Just have them talk like grown-ups, or just write dialogue where they don't curse. That's fine too. But don't have
Well,
them
they
say
they
made up
they
curse words. Like that's just dumb.
um
Joe Lornette's dumb. Consistent dialogue. That's no, I completely disagree with that.
yeah,
That's
Steve
dumb.
doesn't
That's dumb.
Steve doesn't care about consistency.
They came up with something they came up with a dumb gimmick for the dialogue because they wanted to have them cuss, but they couldn't have them cuss on TV. They're not on TV anymore. They don't need the dumb gimmick, but they're sticking to the dumb gimmick because it's already established. I think that's silly. I mean, it's like because there were Star Trek fans like in the newer shows because the newer shows are on streaming or on a streaming service, they can get away with more profanity than they could in the older shows. So now there are characters on the newer Star Trek shows that just flat out cuss. Not a lot, but every once in a while you'll hear like somebody drop an F bomb or say shit or God damn it or something. And there were Star Trek fans that were like, but that's inconsistent because they never cursed before. And in Star Trek 4, Captain Kirk had to explain to Spock what profanity was. And I'm just like, get over it. It was like that because it was on TV and they couldn't curse. Now they can curse, so they can write them that way. I don't care if it's inconsistent. Like it doesn't, they cuss because they cuss because they can, because the writers can have them cuss now. Like that level, see, that to me is an unreasonable level of internal consistency. Because that has nothing to do with the story. It has nothing to do with who the characters are. It's like, but they never cussed before, so they can't ever cuss again. That's dumb. That's just dumb.
Yeah, I'm with Lisa on this because it wasn't just the cussing. We also see that in the first scene as well. When I wish that it had been more thorough. We have this, oh yeah, Mandarin is sort of a universal second language, despite the fact that we see relatively few it's used only in certain situations. It's not used the way a second language often is when it's widely spoken. It's not like Manglish or anything like that. It's not woven in. It's used piecemeal, and it doesn't feel authentic. It does make. I do agree with Jellum here. It becomes an element of the style, of the aesthetic. So it isn't just because because you could. Whedon's good enough with dialogue that he could have written dialogue that just didn't have cussing at all.
Yeah, and I would argue, and I would argue that it would have been much better if he had done that. I mean, like like I said, there have been shows that have done like Babylon 5 did a little bit of that too. Like Babylon 5 had people say frag instead of fuck. And it's like, it's just annoying. Like if you know that you're writing a show that is on TV and there are certain words you can't say, just write the dialogue so they don't say those words. It's fine. Don't give them like made up baby words to say in place of, the real word.
Or like go beyond that, like, and have actually different curses. Like they say something and it's not just a flipped in for where we would say
Right.
damn or something like that, where it's actually a different way of cursing. Because I mean, I curse when I drive, and I
Yes, indeed. Oh
don't
yeah,
always.
you're
I mean,
creative with your use of profanity. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
but it's not always profanity. Sometimes
No,
it's
not
like
always.
literally cursing someone, saying, I want this, may your bedroom floor be scattered with Legos.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Well,
know,
and on
just like,
the point about consistency, um, I mean, I agree that it would have if you had watched the show and then you saw the movie and all of a sudden the whole style of dialogue was different. Yeah, that would have been jarring, right?
yeah,
If all of a sudden everybody talked like Shakespeare characters, that would have been like, what's going on? Why is everybody talking? Because even without like the goofy fake profanity, um the characters on Firefly have like the dialogue has a very particular style, has a very particular kind of idiom to it. They're sort of
yeah,
talking
a
like,
rhythm to it. Yeah,
yeah, and the vocabulary, they're talking kind of like, settlers on the prairie. It has kind of a Western sort of vibe to it, the way sentences are structured, and I mean, I'm fine. I agree they should keep that. I mean, I do think that
mhm,
is part of the personality of the show that they would want to keep in the movie. But the made up curse words can go.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and I'm with you on the whole made up curse words. I don't know, um, should have necessarily been in there anyway.
yeah. Um, And yeah, Philip Kehoe has that's a good example on Batman the Animated Series, because it was on TV and especially it was aimed at kids. Like they couldn't really show blood, but in Mask of the Phantasm, because it was a movie, they could show blood, and they did. They didn't say, "Well, we
Yeah.
shouldn't show blood. We've never shown blood before." If somebody made
I
that,
remember them. The mention of blood makes me think of the clip, I guess, from the opening that you see, and it's the one from gosh, I can't remember which episode is it, but it's got the gun rising and it's like it's dripping water, but the way that it's shot, it looks like
it
the
looks like
gun
blood.
is
Yeah, that
dripping
was.
blood.
That's from one of those. It's like, yeah, it's one of those
And I
episodes
forget, I
where,
forget they used that instead of something else.
yeah,
And when they, because the censors told them like you can't do this and such, and like, okay, so we'll just. I mean, I think that maybe it was that they couldn't show the bullets firing or something like that,
yeah,
and so it was
because
just like the gun moving. And then they looked at it, they're like, wow, that's so much creepier than what
yeah,
we initially imagined.
well,
Great,
because
the censors okayed it, so
I mean, the producers of Batman the Animated Series were able to get away with a lot, because that show originally it was on weekday afternoons, and then
hmm
eventually they moved it to Saturday morning, and those are both like kid
yeah,
time
yeah,
slots. And it was really, really unusual for a kids cartoon show to even have guns in it at all.
yes,
Like that's why, like on the X-Men show, they had like, they had like laser guns, even though the X-Men show supposedly took place, more or less in contemporary society, but like or like even like the Spider-Man cartoon, which was a pretty good cartoon from the 90s, like the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. I
yeah,
mean, like the cops had like laser guns with no explanation. It was just, well, they didn't have like real guns. So
pistols.
yeah, so for the cops and the criminals in Batman the Animated Series to even have act like what looked like realistic guns, that was like a big deal, because they standards and practices did not like that at all, and they were able to get away with it.
I just remember something from the Laugh-In. I love the Laugh-In 25th anniversary special, and they interviewed some of the or they had some of the cast members around to talk with, and one of the comedians, she said that the censors were all over them all the
Yeah.
time. You can't say this, you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't do that, and but sometimes they miss stuff, and one of them came up to her like the day after one of their shows, said, "You can't do that. I can't believe we let you do that. My son told me what that meant today." And she says, I
That's
looked at him and
funny.
said, "Well, I'm really kind of worried about your son."
Oh,
uh,
somebody for and Lisa, no, I've never watched any of Castle, but I think Dana, didn't you tell me about that episode where Nathan Fillion dresses up
Yes,
as his
I think
character from
I not
Firefly?
shown you that clip? And because
You
I
might
think we've
have.
talked
You
about
might
that.
have.
We've
Yeah,
talked about that.
I know we've
Where she's
talked
like
about it.
that, where
And
his
she's like,
daughter
"Didn't you wear
says,
that last year or something?" Like,
"No, no, no. First of all, she's like, what are you supposed to be?" And he says, "Space cowboy." First of all, there are no cows in space, which, as we found
yeah,
out,
there
yes,
actually are cows in
there are
space.
cows in space. Second, didn't you wear that like 5 years ago?
That's it. Yeah.
He says, but I like it. It's so cute.
One of my favorite examples of censorship, like inadvertently making something even more suggestive than it would have been otherwise, is from comic books. There's a famous panel in, I think it's from like the 60s, in Nick Fury Agent of Shield, which was drawn by Jim Steranko, and Steranko had it was supposed to be like a love scene between Fury and his girlfriend, and I think like Steranko had drawn it where it was like in shadow and they were embracing, or it was like the aftermath where you see like clothes on the bed or something. It was something like suggestive of that they had just had sex, and the comic code said no, you can't do that, like it's too sexual. So instead he put in a panel of, it was a close-up of Nick Fury putting his gun in his holster, and they were fine with that. They were like, oh, he's just putting his gun away. And Steranko is like, that was way more suggestive than what I had originally drawn, but because it was, you could interpret it literally and say, oh, he's just putting his gun away, like, it was perfectly fine,
as one does.
yeah. So
um oh, Lisa, and then yeah. I really enjoyed about the first season of Castle, and then it got even more repetitive. uh, Practical Magic 9, it's still there,
and I do still like to
and you
curse.
still do.
I do still like to curse.
Very much so.
And I mean, I like it when other people do too, as long as they do a good job and they use the real words, not the made up baby words that people make up for TV.
Or you just, if you're going to use made up baby words, just go all the way. Be like, you blarping poo-poo head. See, exactly.
But see, that's fine as long as you're doing that to make fun of people who do that.
No. I'm doing it to make fun of the person who is a blarping poo-poo head, like who does not actually, who's so frustratingly ignorant and offensive to me that they don't deserve the real swear words.
Nah, see, that's not how I would. That is there's a difference between us. That's not how I would pitch that. The only reason I would ever,
in fairness, it probably wouldn't be like, if I was actually angry, that probably wouldn't work. But
no,
if I was moderately annoyed and they were a doofus and it didn't inconvenience me, I'd be like, oh, you're such a blubbering poo-poo head. But whatever.
Yeah,
it's
see,
okay, because I get to go on my way.
That's still, yeah, like, that's still a difference. But I would never ever say that in earnest. I would only say that ironically to make fun of someone who would say that.
Oh, do you mean that so and so is a blarping poo-poo head?
It would be like, oh, you're such a blarping poo-poo head, and then like, unspoken, right? As if I would ever actually say that. Like, that's sort of what it would be,
Yeah,
Richard,
Ultra Trekkie, no. Nah.
Richard Moore says, one thing I definitely noticed this time is how both Mal and Jane have very toxic views of masculinity, where the idea that they might be beaten in combat is used to belittle them. Yeah, but that's pretty common among action adventure movies, especially,
Yeah.
from,
and it's
20 years ago and further back than that, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily, I think it is in this case. And what would be interesting to see if somebody tried that with Zoe. Of course, Zoe doesn't get beat up,
Right.
We don't see that happen. So
Yeah. And Ace of Sevens, yes, I did like how the Good Place handled swearing because part of the joke was that things in the Good Place were so ridiculously wholesome that you couldn't even swear. Like you were sort of, you know, there was a layer of satire to it. It wasn't just, and also the fact that at least in the early seasons, like it annoyed the characters that like it annoyed Eleanor that she couldn't swear when she said, holy forking shirt. Like it annoyed her that she couldn't say the actual word
yeah,
because she wanted to swear and
because
she couldn't.
because you identified with that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, Richard Moore, exactly. That was the point of the joke. But I mean, for Mal, and but I think it could work another way. Like it would be interesting if there was like if gosh, the only male weakling is Wash, and obviously Wash is not going to attempt to beat up Zoe. But
Right.
if we had a puny male character who suddenly, if River had been a dude and River had beat up Zoe, and of course then Wash would keep his mouth shut about that, but Jane necessarily wouldn't. Can we talk about the bit where a 90-pound shrimp beat up Zoe? Because I'm loving that. I could see that. I could see
Yeah.
that working.
Yeah.
And especially with Jane, where he can mock somebody else's, somebody who is probably a better fighter than he is in general, and he can
Right.
pull them down a peg. Yeah, Jane would totally do that. Yeah. So I think Zoe is sort of pedestaled a bit. She is not allowed to lose because she's the strong female character.
I think I told you yesterday I watched the movie Black Dynamite for the first time
Yes.
on Jason's recommendation. But if anybody hasn't
Mm-hmm.
seen Black Dynamite, it is hilarious. I highly recommend it. It's like a spoof of black exploitation movies, and it stars Michael Jai White as Black Dynamite. and and there's a scene at the end where he gets in. The movie winds up at the White House where Richard Nixon is president, and Black Dynamite beats up Richard Nixon. And then there's also a part where he backhands Pat Nixon into a bunch of into uh, like a display case, he backhands her into like a case. And then after the fight's over, he sits down and he says, Mrs. Nixon, I want to apologize for pimp slapping you into those plates. And Mrs. Nixon is like, oh no, I was shooting at you. Like, yeah, I understand. Because and he says, no, you shot at me, but you didn't connect. And maybe if you had connected, it would have been justified for me to pimp slap you into those plates, but you didn't connect. Therefore, I feel that I betrayed my values in striking you. So I just want to apologize. And she's like, oh, okay, thank you.
Well, that's all I got.
That's all I got. So,
See you guys next week.
see you guys next week. Now we will be watching Deep Space Nine next week. We will be
Mm-hmm.
watching. It's called The Forsaken, and it is the first appearance in Deep Space Nine. The first of unfortunately several appearances in Deep Space Nine of my least favorite character in all of Star Trek, Loaxana Troi. And so we'll get to see you all get to see how much I really dislike this character in real time. And then after that, we'll be back the week after that with part 2 of what we were just watching tonight, Serenity, and then that'll be
The
it
end.
for Firefly.
And at that point, we'll tell you what's next.
Yes, you've all been wondering what's going to be on the non Deep Space Nine week after we're done Firefly, and we know, and we will tell you. And Dana, you just recorded a video tonight,
Yes.
and that will be for next week.
Yes, that'll be for because I have one. I have no idea.
Well,
no, that's for Saturday.
Is that for Saturday? Okay. Well, then
Yes.
that'll be up on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And
And I just had one that went up yesterday.
that's right. That's right. Yes. Your was that your MLA video?
Yes.
Yes. You're about
With the empty room.
about yes, your final video shot in your classroom for
for that year.
for this
that
school year. So anyway, yeah, Dana's YouTube channel is youtube.com/Dana Coldares. It's linked in the description of this video if you want to check out her channel and subscribe. And of course, leave comments.
Leave comments. please leave comments.
On Friday, and also today on this channel, if you didn't catch it, I put up my video about my vasectomy, which is a completely inaccurate dramatization.
And he's not wearing the hat.
I'm not wearing the hat. The video features the voices of Jason Harding and our very own Dana Cole.
It does?
Yeah. You remember the vasectomy video?
What? Yeah.
Remember you recorded audio for the vasectomy video?
Uh-huh.
Remember?
I'm both nurses.
You are
nurse
both
one
nurses.
And nurse two. I am nurse and other nurse.
Exactly.
I'm Clarissa, though I don't get to explain it all.
No, you don't. You don't really explain anything.
No.
You explained that my insurance covers the procedure. That's what you explained. My vasectomy. But that's up on the channel if you haven't watched that.
The pressure mark
on the hat. Yeah. I wear it a lot. What? It's not that tight. I mean, it's, I'm not like being
just
pinched.
Tight enough.
I'm not being pinched or anything,
It's comfortable. It's
snug. I was being pinched when I got the vasectomy, but it didn't hurt, thankfully, because I had
anesthetic.
They give you the local. But anyway, so that's up. If you haven't watched that, I would recommend that one because I'm really proud of that video. It turned out really good and it's really funny, I think. I'll be back on Friday for Ask Away. So if you are a patron or a channel member, check either the patrons only section of my Patreon page or the channel the channel members only posts of my community page here on YouTube if you're a member, for the link to submit your question ahead of time for Ask Away. That'll be Friday at 6 Eastern time, and then next Monday will be another Ask a Professional YouTuber, which I'm probably going to shoot tomorrow. I finished writing today, and then next Wednesday, a week from today, will be not only our next Trek Reluctantly, where we watch the aforementioned Deep Space Nine episode, but it will also be the new episode of Trek Actually, where the subject will be it'll be a video about the question of, is Data actually too dangerous for Starfleet?
Ooh. I know this one.
What would you like to hazard a guess?
Yes. I mean, yes, I would like to hazard
Yes, you'd like to hazard a guess? Okay.
No.
Correct.
Because if he was too dangerous for Starfleet, then he wouldn't be in Starfleet.
Exactly.
Duh.
It's a syllogism, also, right? I mean,
exactly. But let's also not forget about the charity links.
The charity links. Thank you very much. Yes, charity links. Charitylinks.page. It has some fundraisers and some PayPal links and some bail funds, et cetera, things that some people some friends of ours who need a helping hand, who are in some financial distress, who have bills to pay and need a little bit of a hand up. If you have a few extra bucks to spare and you want to help out someone in need, click on that link. That would be super. And of course, our friend Some Random Geek maintains that and created that for us, and we really appreciate that. And patreon.com/Steve Shives if you want to support my channel, or just click the join button to become a channel member. That's another way you can do it. I appreciate all the support from members and patrons. It's what allows me to do this. So thank you all very much. And that's it.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching.
Yes, thanks for watching. Stuff. All of that. Have a good rest of the night, and I will see you on Friday. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.